day, everyone. My name is Dr. Lauren Hoyer, and I am a lecturer of economic geology in geological sciences. So I teach how to locate ore deposits, what they're made up of, and how mining is actually undertaken. Today, we're going to talk about how we actually need to change our outlook and our perceptions when we look at teaching students in the future in this blended learning environment, so that we can make sure that we have successful content delivery and active student engagement. When looking at geoscience education in COVID times, it's important to remember that geology is a visual science. We rely heavily on fieldwork and practicals to convey geological concepts, and we spend a lot of time in the field with the students. Students are required to complete a 16-credit module for every year of their degree in the field. So how do we create a productive learning environment when we aren't able to spend a lot of time in face-to-face practicals and our field components of our modules are compromised? And if we aren't able to see them face-to-face, how do we get students to engage with content? Well, the bottom line is we need to upgrade and update our practices. If we can change our outlook on how education is done through blended learning practices, we can change the face of geoscience education. As the industry liaison, I engage with the heads of industry through the Mineral Education Trust Fund, and we speak to them annually about what they need from our graduates. And as the mining industry employs about 500,000 people directly in South Africa, it's really important that our graduates are equipped to face this industry. So the most important thing is that our students are equipped with geological skills, and that is something that we've always been quite strong with, but it's apparent that our graduates are lacking skills in time management and in scientific communication, that being verbal, visual, and written communication. So it's really important that we develop these skills in our learners. On top of engaging with industry, myself and my colleague Dr. Hasty are currently undertaking a study where we're looking at how students learn at university with particular relevance to geological concepts. Because students that come to university don't have any prior experience with geology. It's not like chemistry or physics where they've done that content in school. And what happens is we recognize that students that come into university are unable to perceive geological dynamics in four-dimensional systems. And this is including deep time in combination with understanding 3D environments. And there's a lot of information in the slide, and these are preliminary results that we have. But what I want to point out here are the numbers of students that don't actually understand or comprehend these concepts. Deep time is a little bit more understood, but there are students, even at the honours level, who currently don't know how to comprehend deep time in geological settings. Most profoundly, though, students really struggle with 3D perception. So this is being able to understand 3D geological environments. So if we look at the surface of the Earth, we need to be able to understand what is happening below that surface. And what we notice with this trend with 3D perception is that students, even up until master's and PhD levels, struggle to be able to apply the concept of 3D structures and 3D visualization in everything that they do. And only about a quarter of the students in total are actually able to think in 3 dimensions. Now, this is a skill critical to becoming a successful geologist. So how do we overcome these learning gaps, and particularly using blended learning techniques? In an attempt to improve soft skills in students and to make sure that they understand these threshold geological concepts, I present some strategies that I have successfully employed over the last 2 years, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about this. Most of these strategies are centered on student constructivism, and I'm just going to go through these aspects now. And the first one is making sure that students engage with lecture content. And the way I find that the best way to do this is to have a pre-designed weekly schedule of pre-recorded lectures. And that is actually a really strong benefit to the students because it gives them freedom to listen to the lectures whenever they like. It gives them freedom to repeat certain concepts. So if they're struggling with a geological concept that is quite tricky, then they have more opportunities to grasp these concepts. And overall, in all of my modules that I'm teaching, I find that the students really are appreciative of the audio in the lectures. But obviously the downside to that, as everyone will know, is that we don't see the students in person. So we need to offer support And I find the best way to do this is in either Zoom discussions or actually on mobile chat sites like WhatsApp. Next thing that I find really important to make sure that students keep up with the content, because we're not seeing them weekly, is to have short weekly quizzes. And these act as a gatekeeper to accessing further content. So the students aren't able to access the next week's content without completing that quiz. This forces students to take control of their own schedules. As such, this upgrades their time management skills. I also use video tutorials to facilitate online practical sessions, because it's really important to assist with 3D conceptualization, particularly in using cross-sections and in doing map work. And this method is apprenticeship, where students learn by watching. And again, I've had really good feedback from the students that these videos were very helpful. I also do workshops throughout my courses to help with written communication, and this is aimed at different levels and different document types. So for example, at third year, I teach students how to write a correct essay, whereas at higher levels, honors and masters, I show them how to create a thesis and dissertation specifically centered around geological aims and objectives. And this is on YouTube for anyone to watch. Here I present an example of student constructivism, where I get students to create visual communication in the form of an infographic. But I also think it's really important to show students how to do this. We can't expect them to be able to learn and use these tools without showing them how it's done. So I created a tutorial and where I actually built an infographic myself. And the theme here was on how COVID-19 has affected the market price of commodities over the year. So you can see this is an example for steel. So I showed them how to do it, and then they had to take the content from their written communication of an essay and transfer that into a visual communication. I also get the honors class every year to create a video log of their honors minds field class. And this is also put up on YouTube for anyone to see, so students can actually get an idea of what goes on during these field trips. A great learning tool is also through critical assessment of their own work, and we do this through peer reviewing another student's work. So students would write an essay, and then that raw essay would be peer reviewed by another student, where they give comments and feedback and edit the text so that they can understand where that student went wrong, and also they're learning the tools of editing themselves. So you can see here an example of a student who's gone through an essay and they've peer reviewed it like you would a student's work or a manuscript for review. In updating our strategies towards teaching and learning, we also need to amend our assessment strategies, because what we're doing is we're teaching students new skills, so we should be assessing them in the same vein. This enables students to apply information rather than just repeating things that they've learnt. So if we give them a particular setting or a problem, they have to apply the information that they have learnt and solve that problem. This further develops their communication skills and gets them to think about things from another point of view. We know that when students are interested in subject matter, that they have a great improvement in their learning, and therefore they will succeed better in those modules. So we need to have a focus on why we're adjusting our teaching strategies and have certain attributes that we would like to impart into our learners through the development of their soft skills. And this will equip our graduates with the tools to succeed in the workplace, and they can be easily incorporated into any module. We've been quite fortunate in geology that we've been able to run our field trips once lockdown levels have been reduced. But in terms of future updates to the curriculum, we have to consider how virtual field trips can help, because geology remains a hands-on discipline where we know spending time in the field is the best way for students to grasp threshold concepts, and we know that it also improves student learning and engagement. And virtual field trips are the way that a lot of disciplines are going. So this is an example from Arizona State University, where they have set up multiple virtual field trips of different areas. So this is an example of the Grand Canyon, where you can jump from one location to another and expand on the media depending on what you want to see. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you've enjoyed this talk.